We teach that each person is a spiritual being. So how can that spiritual being improve, become more of a spiritual being, and so on? From our point of view, the spirit is immortal. It cannot be killed, it cannot die, but it can be damaged and it can be harmed. And if you look at what, for example, just to illustrate, if you have an accident when you're a child, say, that can affect you for the rest of your life, you see. So even though you're a spiritual being and so on, you can be harmed, because we're associated with the physical, we're attached to a human body. When the body is damaged and so on, we're also harmed, you see. So as part of our thing, we actually teach that you can address this. You can actually overcome this past trauma, both in this life and in past lives. From our point of view, you have to address the spiritual trauma in your life. You have to lead a more ethical life, and you have to train and understand the human condition. What are human beings? What are the pitfalls of human beings? How we screw up, how we can redeem ourselves in some way. So, as the main parts of our spiritual practice is the counselling that we do, and the training courses that we do. We have to fund our way. We actually rent this premises here, so we have to charge fees for the courses and the counselling that we do. Not all of them, but most of them. You can do free courses online and so on, but most of the courses are actually very reasonably priced.
I got into Scientology in 1987. My brother got in first and showed me this book, and I read it, and it seemed to be alright. Hey, yeah, okay. I wouldn't necessarily criticise anybody who's trying to help people, and that's what it seemed to be. Then my wife got involved. I was married at the time, I'm not now. And with my brother and ex-wife being involved, I thought, well, how bad could it be? When I finally got involved with Scientologists, I discovered they were a nice, happy, friendly bunch. And that's what they are. They are genuine, kind-hearted people who actually think they're doing the world a favour. They have no idea that they're being conned, and the only thing they're actually doing is making money for the management and bringing in new people that can be exploited.
First of all, Andrew Morton had released his unofficial biography of Tom Cruise, so Scientology was in the media limelight at that stage. And coupled with the release of the Tom Cruise video, which essentially featured Tom Cruise extolling the virtues of Scientology, but from a Scientologist perspective, this video was intended only for viewing by other Scientologists. And it garnered a lot of media and public interest. So whenever Scientology tried to remove that video, it got noticed. And it also got noticed by the anonymous inhabitants of 4chan who did what they always do, which is to DDoS the website. So they took down the Scientology websites. And this generated even more media attention. And you had a lot of people coming together trying to say that, hang on a minute, this group is actually quite abusive. DDoS the website's not going to do anything. If you want to actually take on this group and expose them, you have to do it properly. And a lot of ex-members from Scientology came forward, a lot of long-term Scientology critics came forward, a lot of people who only heard of Scientology quite recently but have learned enough information to disturb them, all came and started to collaborate on the internet. And that's actually quite important when you consider that Scientology is very impressive in its means of tracking down people, and especially trying to sue them over charges that have probably no legal merit, but just to harass enough people in court. And because they do not have the identities of the people who are sort of speaking out and protesting, their normal tactics of harassing people were no longer effectual. And it's that model that Anonymous has carried forward with the monthly protests, with the first one starting on February 2008, February the 10th. And we've had one in Ireland every month since then, and it's been ongoing worldwide as well. And that's the background and the history that allowed these protests to continue and start. Actually have a flyer which is on one of our websites that Jared Ryan, who's the spokesperson of Scientology, actually will hand out to people who inquire about us. It accuses us of school shootings, it accuses us of being involved in 9/11, it accuses us of being paid spokespeople for the pharmaceutical industry and the Catholic Church and the German government. So yeah, but the thing is that you have to take these claims in context with other critics that Scientology also taught. I'll give an example. When John Sweeney did his first panorama piece, Scientology in May 2007, he actually tried to accuse the BBC of staging a protest that led to a terrorist death threat. When PJ Phelan appeared in the Late Late Show to talk about his family's experience with Scientology, he was accused by Peter Mansell, the spokesperson of the show, of engaging in sending terrorist letters. So if someone's accused of being a terrorist by Scientology, consider that a badge of honour, because it means you're speaking out and you're probably telling the truth in that context. So if Scientology wants to call us a terrorist, let them do it. I mean, what else? How can we respond to that? It's ridiculous.
Find the anonymous guys a bit sad, you see. You know, they stand over there in their masks and screaming vile abuse. Now they've also done not nice things. You know, some of them have gone to jail in the United States. You know, we've had bomb threats, all this kind of stuff, you see. And for example, they've hacked my personal emails. You know, not only did they hack them, then they sent them round the place to people who don't like me, you know, and so on. All this kind of stuff, you know, which is not very nice. I've had abusive phone calls at home at night and so on. You know, that's not nice to see, you know.
I am going to briefly switch into, if you like, my mindset when I was in the cult. I'm talking now, if you like, as a cult member. I'm not, but as a cult member. If a family member or family members or friends are opposing the involvement of you in Scientology, those people are fundamentally psychotic people, and they are trying to pull you off the only hope that you personally have got for your salvation as a being, as the core entity of who you are, not just this lifetime but all your future lifetimes. And those people who are trying to persuade you away from Scientology have a very, very, very evil agenda, and they are fundamentally evil people. Now, I'm switching back into a non-Scientologist. That point of view is engendered by the teachings of the cult. Every single Scientology staff member and public member, or any people involved in the cult in any kind of substantive way, is taught that any opposition to the cult, any opposition, is both psychotic and evil.
Yeah, again, it's, you know, I just hear this all the time, you see, and it's just utter rubbish, right? Now, what we do have is that if you're a member of the church, and then someone that you know is attacking the church, then you obviously try and deal with that person. You go off and deal with the person, you see, etc. Now, as a very, very last resort, and I can tell you, it has never happened in Ireland. Never, not once. As a very, very last resort, the person is told you cannot, you cannot do courses in the church unless you deal with your situation. It has to come a time that you have to deal with that in some way. You see, you know. So, but again, that's like a very extreme case, you know.
So you're saying that the church wouldn't step in directly. It would be up to that person to go, look, I don't want to have any contact with my family.
Yes, and as I said, it's incredibly rare. It's incredibly rare.
I was very easily persuaded. My state of mind that I was in at the time, which was not a happy state of mind, left me a very vulnerable, very pliable person. And then I found myself signing a billion-year contract and standing up and saluting in a little ceremony with a flag and two Sea Org officer people dressed up, you know, in naval uniforms and holding up swords, and a strange flag there with a laurel wreath and a star rising out of the center of it, and making a pledge to pledge myself to 1 billion years service to this Sea organization, to forward the intentions of L. Ron Hubbard, the founder, and the Sea Org. and do anything I had to do to forward the cause, the Scientology cause, upon planet Earth and beyond, and to other planets as well. I wanted to try some of the stuff that Scientology was claiming, which once it was a very powerful social betterment activity, that it could really help with social ills in the real world. And so I began getting involved in voluntary organizations and voluntary operations around Birmingham, and I became aware that the corruption I'd witnessed in southern England was actually a corruption inherent in the whole Scientology structure, all the way from the bottom to the very, very, very top. I became very aware of how corrupt the organization I was working for was, and I really began to wake up at that point.
We've a religious order in our church called the Sea Organisation, of which John Dignan was a member. You see, now the Sea Organisation is a religious kind of brotherhood within our church, in the same way as the Jesuits are, or the Dominicans are, or something like that. You see, when you actually join that group, there's actually processes in joining it, and there's processes in leaving it. If you're a priest here in the Catholic Church, you can't just leave and still be in good standing with the priesthood. Now, you could probably check out what actually happened to John Dignan. You see, John Dignan picked up his coat one day and left. So if we're doing all these bad things, why didn't we stop him? Why didn't we hold him against his will? He just walked out the door.
You are subject to, again, when you're leaving, the most intrusive interrogations you can imagine. But you're interrogated daily about your whole Scientology career. And the effort is to persuade you to stay a Scientologist, but also never to reveal anything of your Scientology experience to anybody outside of Scientology. And so my only option was to escape and go into hiding while they hunted me down. There's enough information on the internet. There's enough forums. There is, you just have to type the word Scientology and do some very, very serious research, because you have to answer for yourself. Scientology is a con. It is a lie. If you have a family, if you have assets and a house and a job, it will suck you absolutely dry. And then, once you are broke and in debt, it will then recruit you to work for it.
So I personally want as many people as possible to get what I've got out of Scientology and so on. And I would say, listen, I think you should do that course. But the idea of forcing someone to do something is just ridiculous, you see.
We're not here, to destroy the Church of Scientology just for the sake of it. It's the abuses. It is only the abuses that we need to see ended. And if people still want to practice Scientology once they know the facts, then let them do it.